If a narcissist ever says, "So what you're really saying is," that is the moment to stop. That phrase is not curiosity. It's not clarification. It's the opening move of manipulation. Your words are about to be rewritten in a way that serves them, not the truth of what you actually said. Most people already recognize what narcissists do when they feel control slipping. They gaslight. They deflect. They accuse you of being too sensitive or overreacting. But that's not the part most people miss. What usually goes unnoticed is what happens before that. The quiet setups, the subtle traps, the moments that feel small enough to dismiss, yet are carefully designed to pull you off balance. Because narcissists don't start by openly twisting your words, they warm the room first. And if you can learn to recognize those early moves, you don't have to defend yourself, over-explain, or let them hijack the conversation at all. There is a way to interrupt the process before it gains momentum, without sounding defensive and without escalating the situation. To understand how this works, it helps to look at a completely different setting. Imagine a pickpocket in a crowded plaza. He's not threatening. He's not aggressive. He doesn't look suspicious. In fact, he looks ordinary, friendly, harmless. He blends in. Maybe he brushes past someone's shoulder, says, "Sorry," flashes a quick smile. The interaction barely registers. It feels like nothing. Just another moment in a busy day. It happens so fast that the person doesn't even realize anything is missing. Not until much later, when they reach for their wallet or their keys or a credit card and feel that sudden drop in their stomach. By then, the damage is already done. Sometimes it's just cash. Other times it's an ID, a debit card, access to bank accounts. One brief, forgettable interaction turns into hours of phone calls, stress, and cleanup. And the pickpocket is long gone. Pickpockets don't take everything at once. They don't threaten you. They don't create a scene. There's no immediate danger, no obvious aggression. And that's exactly why it works. They operate in plain sight. The realization comes too late. Their method is simple and efficient. First, there's the approach, the bump, the smile, the eye contact. It's never random. It's rehearsed to feel normal and safe. Second, there's the distraction. Your attention shifts for just a second. You react to the movement or the apology. And third, there's the extraction. Their hand is already where it needs to be. They know exactly what they're there to take. It's quick. It's targeted. It's quiet. And when you finally notice, it's not just about what's missing, but the consequences of losing it. That same strategy plays out in conversations with narcissists. They don't overpower you. They don't dominate openly. They don't announce what they're doing. They extract something far more valuable than a wallet. They extract your energy, your confidence, your emotional footing, often without you realizing it's happening. Here's how it starts. You say something simple, honest, neutral. Maybe you say, "I'm not sure if I can make it to your party." No accusation, no drama, just clarity. Then, later, completely out of context, they say something like, "I guess I'll go alone since you don't care about my family." That distortion is the bump. It catches you off guard. It feels subtle, but it's strategic. And because you're a reasonable person, your first instinct is to correct it. You assume they misunderstood. You assume this was an honest mistake. So you explain. You repeat what you actually said. You soften your tone. You reassure them so they don't feel hurt. You walk them back through your words, trying to restore accuracy. That moment is the distraction. The second you shift from standing in your truth to managing their emotional response, the extraction begins. Your attention moves away from your own clarity and onto their reaction. And that is exactly what they want. They are not confused. They are not misremembering. They are extracting your emotional labor, your energy, your focus. There is a quiet cruelty in this moment. They watch you scramble to clarify something they know you didn't say. They observe how easily they can pull you off center. And internally, they feel powerful. They feel superior. They feel in control. They feel validated in their belief that they are untouchable and above accountability. This isn't miscommunication, it's exploitation. They are using your empathy as a weapon against you, and they enjoy it. Another version of this looks harmless on the surface. Picture someone approaching you looking lost. They're holding a crumpled map. They point at street signs. They fumble with their phone. They say, "Excuse me, can you help me find this place?" Of course you lean in. You're trying to help. You explain, you point. Maybe you even take the map from their hands to get a better look. But it was never about directions. It was about distraction. While you're focused on helping, they're helping themselves to your wallet. Narcissists do this conversationally. Maybe they're bored. Maybe the attention isn't on them. Maybe they don't feel important enough in that moment. So they create confusion. They say things like, "I don't understand what you mean," or, "What are you trying to say?" It sounds innocent, reasonable, even thoughtful. But it's not real confusion. It's a hook. If you're a caring person, you lean in. You explain your tone. You clarify your meaning. You soften your words and try harder to be understood. That's the distraction. While you're focused on making sure they don't feel confused or uncomfortable, they're extracting something else. Your confidence, your sense of certainty, your trust in your own perception. They enjoy watching you adjust yourself for them, watching you work to please them, watching you question yourself. That's the payoff. Another version comes disguised as humor. Someone drops something in front of you. A scarf, a wallet, keys. You bend down to help. You pick it up and hand it back, because that's what decent people do. That moment of kindness is exactly what they're counting on. The drop was never an accident. It was bait. Narcissists do the same thing verbally. You say something light like, "I didn't sleep great last night." And they smile and respond, "Oh no, was our conversation too stimulating for your delicate nerves?" It sounds like a joke, but underneath, it's a jab. It frames you as fragile, dramatic, hard to be around. You weren't expecting it, so you bend down emotionally. You laugh it off. You clarify. You say something like, "No, I'm not sensitive. I just had too much coffee." That's the distraction. And while you're busy proving you're not fragile, they've already gotten what they wanted. Confirmation that they can undermine you and make you perform for approval. In real life, the best way to protect yourself from a pickpocket isn't confrontation. It's awareness. You notice something feels off, and without panic, your hand goes to your pocket. You check your bag. You keep moving. You don't argue. You don't lean in. You don't engage. The con only works if you react. And the same is true in conversation. When there's a sudden misquote, a confusion that doesn't feel real, or a joke that lands wrong, you don't need to fix it. You don't need to correct it immediately. You simply register it. Something isn't right. That awareness shifts your focus back to yourself. Just like your hand would instinctively protect your wallet, your attention turns inward to protect your emotional resources. Narcissists are after your energy, your confidence, your footing, and the moment you stop offering it, the tactic weakens. You don't lean in, you don't explain, you don't rescue the mood. You stay upright emotionally. You don't pick up what they dropped, you don't take the map. You don't rebut the misquote. You let it sit. And once you see the setup and name it to yourself, the spell starts to break. Because the manipulation only works if you believe you owe them a performance. Without that, they have nothing to steal. Once you recognize the setup, the entire dynamic changes. A narcissist's ability to twist your words depends on one thing: your reaction. The moment you start explaining, defending, or emotionally bending to correct the distortion, you've stepped into the trap. The conversation is no longer about what you said. It's about how far they can pull you off your center. That's why awareness is the real shift. Not confrontation, not proving them wrong. Awareness. When you feel that subtle but unmistakable shift in the room, the misquote that doesn't match your memory, the confusion that feels performative, the joke that lands with a sting, your nervous system is already clocking something important. Before your mind catches up, your body knows this isn't clean. This isn't mutual. This isn't safe. And in that moment, there is a response that ends the game before it starts. Just 3 words. That's not accurate. No explanation, no justification, no emotional charge. Just a calm, grounded statement that does one powerful thing. It refuses their version of reality without offering a replacement for them to attack. Narcissists rely on over-explanation. That's where they get their leverage. The more you talk, the more raw material they have to twist. The more you defend yourself, the more they feel superior. The more you try to be understood, the more they enjoy misunderstanding you on purpose. When you say, "That's not accurate," and stop there, you deny them access to all of that. You don't argue their premise. You don't step into their framing. You don't chase clarity with someone who benefits from confusion. You place a boundary and you let it stand. What happens next is often uncomfortable, especially if you're empathetic. They may push, they may prod. They may say, "How is it not accurate?" Or, "Then what did you mean?" Or, "You're being defensive." This is the moment where old conditioning tries to take over. The urge to smooth things out. The urge to explain. The urge to make sure they don't feel upset or misunderstood. But notice what's actually happening. They are trying to reopen the extraction point. They are reaching back into the conversation, hoping you'll hand them more energy, more words, more self-doubt. And the most powerful thing you can do is not give it to them. You don't owe someone clarity when they are intentionally distorting you. You don't owe someone access to your inner world when they are using it against you. Sometimes the strongest move is to say nothing at all. Silence, in this context, isn't avoidance. It's containment. It's you staying upright while they search for something to grab onto and find nothing. This is where narcissists often reveal themselves. Without your reaction, the mask slips. They may become irritated. They may disengage suddenly. They may change the subject or act as if nothing happened. They may try to paint you as cold or difficult. None of that means you did something wrong. It means the tactic failed. What makes this so destabilizing for them is that you are no longer performing. You're no longer bending yourself into shapes that make them feel powerful. You're no longer proving your goodness, your intentions, or your innocence. You are simply existing in your own reality without asking for permission. That's what they can't stand. When a narcissist twists your words, the real danger isn't the distortion itself. It's how quickly it pulls your attention away from yourself and onto them. You start scanning their face, their tone, their mood. You start asking yourself if you said it wrong, if you were unclear, if you need to fix it. That's how they destabilize you, by pulling you out of your own knowing and into their narrative. "That's not accurate" brings you back home. You don't need evidence. You don't need a counterargument. You don't need them to agree. You just need to stay anchored in what you know is true. This response isn't about winning an argument. It's about conserving your energy. It's about ending the pattern where you do emotional labor for someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. If you've spent years being the reasonable one, the peacemaker, the explainer, the one who smooths things over, stopping that behavior will feel wrong in your body. Not because it is wrong, but because it is new. Discomfort doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes it means growth. Over time, something shifts. You start to feel steadier in conversations. You recover faster. You don't replay exchanges over and over in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong. You trust yourself more. And that's the deeper victory. The manipulation only works if you participate. The bump, the drop, the fake confusion, the misquote, they're all invitations. And you are allowed to decline. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to educate them. You just need to stop handing over your energy. Here's the truth that changes everything. You are not required to be understood by someone who is invested in misunderstanding you. You are not responsible for managing the emotions of someone who uses your empathy as a weapon. And you do not owe anyone a performance to earn basic respect. When someone twists your words, remember this: stay calm, stay grounded, and if you choose to respond at all, let it be simple and clean. That's not accurate. Then let the silence do the work. Because clarity doesn't need volume. Boundaries don't need explanations. And your peace doesn't need their approval. If this resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on how often you've been pulled into explaining yourself to people who were never trying to understand you in the first place. Awareness is the first step out of that cycle. If you want to go deeper, learn how to spot these patterns earlier, protect your energy in real-time conversations, and stop second-guessing yourself, make sure you watch the next video on your screen. It breaks down even more subtle manipulation tactics and shows you how to disengage without guilt. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the more you trust your inner knowing, the less power manipulation has over you.